We're here in the beautiful Hogs Hollow, one of Toronto's most exclusive neighborhoods. Today, I'm taking you inside this masterpiece in the making. Follow me. I'm here with Kian from 360 Carpentry. Hi, Kian.
Hey.
How are you?
Very good.
Good. What inspired you to get into custom home framing?
So honestly, it was by accident. It was supposed to be a summer job, and this is where we are now.
Can you tell us how 360 Carpentry got started?
So in 2019, me and my best friend, also we can call him my brother from another mother, Kurush, who's now the owner of Capital Structures, we finally decided to leave our current employer, and then we started our own thing.
What projects do you normally specialize in?
So I always like to say no project is too small and no project is too big. We don't like to discriminate, but our favorite type of projects to work on are stuff like this one. Projects with massive and very heavy duty steel frames, lots of floors, lots of big open areas, but we'll take on basically any framing job that we can get.
What makes your approach to framing different than others in the industry?
So I always like to say that what we do is incorporate the old school ways of framing to the new school ways of framing. So we're very advanced in using softwares like AutoCAD and Revit.
Nice.
And when we incorporate that into these jobs, it becomes much easier, much smoother, less headache for everyone, including us, the builder, and the next trades.
When starting new builds, what's usually your main vision or priority?
So I will say it's 100 times. First one is always going to be safety, making sure the job site is safe for us, everything is done correctly. Second priority, always quality.
Nice.
Once we get past having a perfect structure, perfect leveled walls, perfect plumb walls everywhere, perfectly leveled floor, that's when we get into speed. So it always starts with safety, quality, then speed.
How do you balance design, durability, and innovation in framing?
So to be completely honest with you, we don't have much control when it comes to design.
Right.
Before we're here, months before that, there's been engineers and architects that have come together, made the design of a house, both architecturally and engineered-wise. Then it goes through the whole city permit process.
Right.
So it's been reviewed and rechecked multiple times before it gets to us.
Okay.
Unfortunately, these days, a lot of times when we do see mistakes or we catch stuff that I guess in office they weren't able to, we basically are in constant contact with the engineers, who a lot of them are good friends at this point, also with the engineers, architects and engineers. So that's how we get past that point.
So when you're framing a home, how do windows factor into the structure?
So the most important thing about the structure of windows is the wider that it gets, the heavier of a beam we need above it to support that void area.
Right.
When it comes to curtain walls and you're trying to achieve that seamless look, what gets also very tricky is basically we're going to have to build a very heavy duty structure, but it can't be seen.
Right.
So as an example, it would be, for example, this header not being here, it would have to be in the floor.
Why are window systems such an important part of the planning stage?
So initially, architecturally, we would see a lot of differences between actual window sizes and what they had originally on the architectural drawings. Okay. Especially now that we're getting more into aluminum, like we see aluminum a lot more, we're seeing that the exact sizes are the same as what's on the drawing.
Right.
But previously, more when vinyl was very popular, a lot of times the window companies try to keep the sizes within their standard range. And a lot of times, unfortunately, what would happen is we would build a house without the windows being ordered. And once the windows were ordered, they would change the size.
Oh no.
Now, when they make the windows smaller, that's not an issue. But if you make a width of a window a little bit bigger, that changes our structure entirely.
Right.
So planning, one of the most important things is getting the window sizes before we even start.
So on this project, I know you worked really closely with Urban Windows and Doors. I just want to know a little bit about your experience with working with the team.
So Urban Windows, we've done quite a few projects with. I've done quite a few projects actually with a lot of different window companies. Every window company has its good stuff, every company has its bad stuff.
Yep.
The thing I like the most about Urban Windows is the fact that they give us something called an elevation markup.
Okay.
So what the elevation markup does for us is we no longer have to go look through their window schedule to figure out which positioning is actually where in the house.
Right.
With the elevation markup, everything becomes crystal clear.
What are a few challenges on residential builds compared to commercial builds?
So great question. I'll give you two prime examples. The first one, neighbors. They always say a house is just a house, but the neighbor is what makes you love it or hate it. Right? So a lot of times the problems we have in residential is that the neighbors are just unhappy with the situation that they're currently living in. I know it's temporary, and I do feel for them and do understand.
Yeah, of course.
But however, it would be very nice if they could just understand that the easier they let us work, the easier the job will get done, and the faster it will get done.
Yeah, 100%.
So a lot of the times the challenges we have is that I understand we're making noise at like 7 a.m. Sometimes we make noise until 7 p.m. So imagine right now in Toronto, a lot of people work from home, right? So when they're working at home, it must suck.
Yeah.
I do get it. But the easier we get this done, the easier we'll be out and the faster that we will be out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in commercial, it's a little bit different because usually they're on huge lots.
Right.
There's lots of open space. We can bring whatever machinery we want. We can use 100 people if we want to. We can turn up music as loud as we want to. And no one will really get bothered. So that's the problem. The second one is sometimes, this doesn't really happen often, but when it does, it's not fun, is the client's vision. Right? So sometimes, especially these days with the era of social media, people go on Pinterest or Instagram and see something and they really, really want it, right? But unfortunately, we have limitations when it comes to timber framing, wood framing, and steel framing. Right? So we have the limitations on structure and we have the limitations of the city. Right? So sometimes you might want to come and be like, hey, I want this entire wall to be fully glass.
Yeah.
But then it just won't be possible structurally, right? Or maybe the cost won't be worth it. So they would really, really, really want that, but we just unfortunately wouldn't be able to give it to them. Again, this rarely happens, but when it does, it's not the best situation to be in.
Can you give us a couple examples of a few projects that you're proud of?
Of course, yeah. One of the most complicated structures we've ever done was 20 Bayview Ridge Crescent. After that, it would come to 39 The Bridle Path. And then this one being what I think is actually more complicated than both of them, and my favorite so far, which is 3 Maytree Road in Hogs Hollow. If you want to take a look around, you can see heavy duty beams, both steel and wood, all over the place. It's a 3-story house and basically has enough capacity to carry an airport in here.
Oh wow, yeah, it's very intricate in here. Thanks so much for answering a couple questions with us today. This build is stunning. What's next for 360 Carpentry?
Honestly, at this point, my main goal is consistency. With the market being the way that it is and people wanting to build, people not wanting to build, not knowing their next step, main goal always will be consistency. To keep our clients. We're blessed enough to have enough work throughout this troubling time. But if you wanted a little bit more in detail, we do have a couple projects coming up which are very, very different than what we're used to. They're still wooden framed homes with the combination of steel and wood. However, they are going to be both on the ultra modern side and on the ultra traditional side.
Do you have any advice for anybody that wants to either get into this industry or wants to start building their own custom home?
In the industry, you mean framing?
Yeah.
Don't.
No?
Don't do it.
Why not?
You have to really, really have a passion for this job. If you're thinking, I'm going to come into this job, make a cash grab and leave, this is not for you. It takes years and years and years to actually understand this trade, and it's not something you can do within a year or two.
So basically just hire you if they want to build a home.
Pretty much.
Perfect. All right, and where can people get in touch with you or follow you on Instagram?
Instagram would probably be the best way. All my information is there. It's 360 Carpentry.